Oh, hello. Do you know why they don't put many bars in comic books?
No, I don't. Why is that?
They all look a little sketchy. Thank you, Geek Aficionado, for kicking off this Comic Book Editions Volume 164 video. And welcome. I had a great time hanging out with Jimi this past Sunday at a Comicverse comic show event in New Berlin, Wisconsin. I had never been to this show or this venue before, and I had a great time. In today's video, I'm going to share with you some of my pickups from that event. Let's get started. I'm not even going to pull any punches. From the very beginning, I'm showing you the book that I'm most excited about. This is kind of appropriate to show since last week was a complete JLA haul. I've got another JLA book for my collection, Justice League of America, Volume 1, Issue number 10. This is from 1962. It's the first appearance of Felix Faust, and it's a Murphy Anderson cover. So out of the first 10 issues of Justice League, I now have 8 of the 10. And that's pretty good. It's going to help me get a long way to getting that Justice League Volume 1 collection taken care of. So this was the first book that I picked up at the convention. Usually when I go to a show like this, I like to go around all the vendors one time first before I come back and start making purchases. And I was about maybe 65-70% through the vendors when I found this book. And I left it and I went on to the next vendor. And I got a couple of vendors later and I just thought, you know, if someone grabs that book or snatches it up before I do, I'm going to have FOMO. By the way, I haven't had a chance to rebag or board any of these books, so more than likely any price tags that you see on these books are not what I paid for it, especially with this book. How many opportunities am I going to have to get a Justice League number 10 for under $20? And I did get it for under $20. It's probably my favorite pickup of the day. It's the one that made me pull the trigger and start buying. And I'm so happy that I have it today. But the fun doesn't stop there. Here's a book. I didn't make a top 12 goal list like I usually do, but had I made one, this book probably would have been on it because it was almost on last year's top 12 goal list. This is DC 100-page Super Spectacular number 14. This was published in 1973. We got a Nick Cardy cover. So check this out. I'm not going to take the backing board out, but here in the enlarged section of your screen, I'm going to show you the full wraparound cover. So check this out. Oh yeah, now you're getting the full scope of exactly what we're dealing with here. Now all the stories inside are reprints. That's okay. We have reprints of Detective Comics issue 31, 32. There's a Showcase Comics, I think it's issue 34, that stars the Atom. Blackhawk issue 10 is reprinted. Sensation Comics issue 6 is reprinted, the Wonder Woman story. There is a Doll Man issue 31 reprint. And there's a Sensation Comics issue 4 for the Wildcat story reprinted in here. The main purpose was to get the reprint of the Sensation number 6. That is the first appearance of Wonder Woman's Magic Lasso. How could I be Magic Lasso and not have that? I do have this story reprinted in the Wonder Woman archives and in the Wonder Woman Golden Age Omnibus, but I still wanted this book anyway. And like I said, that Nick Cardy cool wraparound cover is too cool for school, and I didn't want to miss out on that. But I've had my eye on this book for quite some time. This is the best price I'd ever seen on the book, so when the opportunity presented itself this past Sunday, I made sure to snatch it up. Like I said, I know it's all reprints, but the cover is still cool. I got to get a Silver Age clear backing board for this one so I can really show it off. There is a little bit of FOMO tied to this next one, Adventure Comics number 387. This is a 1969 comic book. I think it's a Curt Swan cover, if I'm not mistaken. And where the FOMO comes in, the very first dealer that I saw when I got there had a bunch of very cheap comic books, like in $2 bins. And this is one that I pulled out of there. He had other adventure comics with Supergirls that I didn't have. I'm really trying to work on that run. And I thought, I'm going to go back and get those. And shortly after I picked up that Justice League comic book that I showed first at the beginning of this video, I thought I better get back to that seller so someone doesn't snatch those up. Well, someone was in the process of snatching those up right before I got there. And they were picking, I mean, they had a huge stack of not just adventure comics with Supergirls, but a lot of books from that era. And the only one I was able to find on the other side that he didn't get to, that I didn't have in my collection, was this one. So that's okay. That's on me. For, the early bird does get the worm. I should have snagged those up as soon as I saw them. There was probably maybe 3 or 4 more in there that I needed for that portion of my collection. But it's okay. I will get it someday. I'm happy to at least have been able to come home with one. So we got the classic original Supergirl costume that she's wearing. Shortly after this, she would start experimenting with her costume looks. And you'll see some of her experimental costume, should I say, in a future comic book editions video. Maybe even next week. Well, probably not next week, but maybe the week after on my channel. So look for that coming up soon. You Marvel fans might be thinking, oh, it's going to be another DC haul again. No, I do have a little bit of Marvel to share with you too. And Fantastic Four. So this is issue number 155. The seller was very honest and said there's just a very tiny color touch or color touch up on this, but he couldn't even locate where it was at. I can't locate where it's at, but it's okay. It was a $2 book. I bought it to read it and enjoy it. And I appreciate them being very honest and upfront, even on a $2 book. But had he not told me, I wouldn't have even known. I was kind of drawn to this one because it's an affordable Fantastic Four. I enjoy the Fantastic Four. But this was the era where Medusa was filling in for the Invisible Woman as a member. And I always kind of like that. I looked at a lot of different Fantastic Four comic books at this comic show. I came close to pulling the trigger on a few different ones, but I didn't for one reason or another. It all ends up being, the way it's supposed to be. Just happy to have a Fantastic Four. But not only one Fantastic Four did I come home with, I did get another one too. Like I said, if I didn't mention this before, I haven't rebagged and boarded any of these books yet. They're still pretty fresh and new into my collection. I haven't had time to really sit down, enjoy them, rebag and board them, and get them all filed away. So please forgive, this isn't the best bag. I know that for sure. So please forgive me for not having that done. I was so excited I wanted to share it this week right away in my comic book editions volume 164 video. Anyway, Fantastic Four issue number 249. Now we're jumping up to a 1982 release. John Byrne is all over this book. Inside, we have a little bit of an appearance by the X-Men, or do we? We really don't, because they're Skrulls that have shape-shifted into the X-Men, because at that time, the real X-Men were out in space on the Brood storyline. Of course, that was covered last season on the Omni X-Men show with John's Comics with Kids and No Good Comics. But we have Gladiator here. He's kind of wiping the floor with the Fantastic Four. In this story, he actually thinks that they are Skrulls as well as the X-Men being Skrulls. But the FF aren't Skrulls. When I go to a comic show, I'm never for certain exactly what I'm going to come home with. But one title I was hoping, okay, in all fairness, there were 2 titles I was hoping maybe I could help my run a little bit and come home with some of these books. Here's one of them. Peter Parker, The Spectacular Spider-Man, issue number 1. Volume number 1, issue number 113. Excuse me, a moment. Volume 1, issue 113. So as you know, earlier this year, I was doing these Spectacular Spider Haul videos. I pulled in a whole slew of Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man comic books into my collection. And now I'm trying to fill in some of the gaps. And this is one issue that I did need for the gaps. We're in the black suit Spidey era here. I think this is a Peter David story, as is the next one I'm about to show you too. But some good stuff. So to be able to checkmark another one off that list was cool. And yes, there is another Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man comic book to show and share, 117. I'm thinking this is a Rich Buckler cover, if I'm remembering correctly. And I think Rich Buckler and Peter David wrote the story together. Spider-Man is missing. Where is Spider-Man? Where has he gone to? That's essentially the question, and Blackcat's trying to find out. She also has a little bit of a beef with Doctor Strange because of a spell that he had performed that took away her powers. So I haven't read this one yet, but I'm looking forward to it. It looks like it's going to be, at least based on the cover, it looks like there's going to be some fun stuff. I also saw this book shown at some other stands, some other booths. And even in the same condition, it was a lot more expensive than what I lucked out and ended up paying for. So that made me happy. Besides the Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man title, the other book that I was hoping I could come home with some copies of was Superman's Girlfriend Lois Lane. I kind of thought, well, I'll come back with some of the ones that have the Rose and Thorn backup stories. And I didn't come home with any of those, although I saw some. And I should have picked up, regrets. I should have picked some up, but I really tried to stay in budget, and I did stay in budget with $1 left over. Anyway, this is now the oldest Superman's Girlfriend Lois Lane comic book that I have in my collection. It's issue number 48, and this is 1964, Curt Schauffenberger, or is it Curt Schauffenberg? I think it's Schauffenberger. Now I'm questioning myself. You know who I'm talking about. He did the cover and the interior art for this. This is one of those wacky Silver Age stories where Superman's essentially saying, I'll reveal my true identity to you, but you have to play like this little game first. I'm going to take you back to 3 different periods of history and make you different characters, and I'll be characters as well. If you could pick me out in those decades, I'll reveal my identity to you presently, who I am in the present time. So Lois goes back and she's Helen of Troy, she's Cinderella, and she's Florence Nightingale. So classic, goofy, Silver Age. This was $2. I can't pass up my oldest Lois Lane comic book in my collection when it only cost $2, and I was happy with the condition with it. I just couldn't pass it up. I think it was too good to pass up. More Lois Lane. This cover I thought was just fantastic. This is issue number 102, and now we've jumped up to 1970 with this release. Of course, if you've been a longtime watcher of my channel, you know that Bronze Age is my jam. I like some silver too, I like some copper, but the Bronze Age is my jam. This is the first of a 2-part story where Lois meets someone and she potentially thinks that this might be the devil. And this person gives her a drink and she grows horns and a tail and kind of thinking even more that she could be the devil. And then Superman tries to interfere. This person fires a ray or something at Superman. It bounces off his chest and it appears that it kills Lois Lane. So that's how we get the cover depiction here, that Lois is dead. But in the next issue, we find out that Lois is not dead. So here we have issue number 104, and it is revealed that it is not the devil. It's an alien that sort of resembles the devil that's just in love with Lois, and he's trying to get her to love him back and to end up marrying him. But Lois's love for Superman, of course, is so strong that she can't allow that to happen, even though she almost did. But she saw how he grieved when he thought that she was dead, and love saved everything in this issue. This is Robert Kanigher. If you know Robert Kanigher stories, some of them aren't bad, and some of them are bad, like really bad. Cool cover though. I have another Marvel to share with you. I think this is 1980, could be 1987, I think, possibly. Iron Man, issue number 190. I was aware this issue, didn't have it in my collection. The main reason, 100% of the reason why I wanted this comic book in my collection, got a guest star of Scarlet Witch. There must have been a lot of other books the month that this came out that I was more interested in at the time, which is why I didn't pick it up originally, because as a childhood collector, I was drawn to a lot of Scarlet Witch guest star books or Scarlet Witch on the cover. So the fact that I didn't have this one was even a little bit of a mystery to me. And sometime in the future, I'll be sharing with you another Iron Man comic book that had some guest stars, not Scarlet Witch, but some other guest stars from pretty much the same era too that intrigued me to buy it. So you'll see that in a future comic book editions video on my channel. This next book, okay, here's the deal. You can look at my copy and see down the spine, there's a lot of spine ticks. It's pretty beat up. I paid $2 for this comic book. No way am I going to pass up The Joker, Volume 1, Issue number 2, even though it's in a lower grade. Even though it's beat up for $2. I'm not passing that up. Ernie Chan cover. Of course, I'm finding more and more how much I just love Ernie Chan covers. There's something about them that I'm always drawn to them. I made it a little funny. This is cool. I have a few other, the Joker Volume 1 comic book really didn't last that long. And I have a few other books. Maybe with this one, I might have close to half of the run of Volume 1. I really should have picked up the omnibus that they did, and I think that's out of print now. And I even had some friends try to check some ollies for me, because sometimes you can find those at the ollies, but no one had any luck. Should have gotten that one. Good stuff here. I just think this is too classic of a cover, which is why I ended up using it as the thumbnail for this Comic Book Editions Volume 164 video. Incidentally, and I still have just about 2 more books to show for you, but before I show those, I want to say if you're new to my channel and haven't subscribed yet, I hope you take this opportunity to do so. Sharing this video, sharing the channel, giving the video a thumbs up, a like, a heart is another great way to show support. When we're talking classic covers, I've got another Nick Cardy one for you. How about that? Superman Volume 1, Issue number 261. Same seller I got The Joker from, a $2 book. I've been wanting this book for quite some time. I'd seen this cover for years upon years and never had gotten the book. So essentially what the story is, and what you see depicted on the cover happens in the story. Essentially what happens is Carol Ferris mistakenly believes that Superman is fighting Green Lantern. That sets her off into becoming Star Sapphire, and she goes after Superman for beating up on Green Lantern, and she puts I think it was a necklace around him that kind of makes him her slave. And one of the things to prove to everyone that he is truly her slave, he has to kneel and kiss her boots. Very Zod-like, isn't it? Kneel before Zod. In the grand scheme of things, it all gets resolved with a little help from Lois Lane, who's able to free Superman from the Star Sapphire spell. Just too cool of a classic cover, and one I've always wanted. So happy, a big smile on my face when I was able to come home with this. And one more I want to show today. Just a $1 pickup, and this was complete cover by impulse. From 1986, this is Batman, Volume 1. What issue is this? 398. And I love the fact here that Batman needs help from Catwoman because Two-Face is getting the best of him. Help me, Catwoman, before Two-Face buries me alive. And Catwoman says, sorry, sport. This time you're on your own. She's just not into it. He should have asked her on Catterday. I'm surprised I didn't have this book either. This looks like something I would have picked up as a childhood collector back in the day. And I do have a lot of these era of Batman books. And I've mentioned this before. This is this very strange time period when the pre-crisis Batman is still around post-crisis, before the entire events of Crisis on Infinite Earths actually catch up with him and resets and wipes everything out. This is another one of those books. I explained it a little bit better in a previous video. I think it was in my Batman and the Outsiders Hall video. So you can go back and check that out and hear a much better explanation than that brief one that I just gave you right now. So in addition, these are the books, with the exception of one, that I added into my collection. That one that I'm not showing, I'm saving for a video that I'm hoping to do maybe next week. And I'll explain then why I saved the book for that video instead of just putting it all together into this one collection. Which cover was your favorite? I would love to know that. Please leave me a comment below and tell me which one you like the best. If you have any of these books in your collection, if you're looking for any of these books, if you wouldn't have been able to pass up any of these books, I'd love to dialogue about all of that with you and more. Thank you again, Jimi, the Geek Aficionado, for being my friend and spending time with me at the show. I always have a great time with you. He's the first YouTuber that I ever met and the first one that I've met multiple times. That was my second in-person time hanging out with Jimi. And it's so easy with him. It just feels like we've been friends, like in-person friends, and have hung out, thousands of times instead of just 2 times. So thanks, Jimi, for always having the time for my friendship. I truly appreciate it and had a great time. This Comicverse comic show was a lot of fun. I know that they do them in New Berlin, Wisconsin. I think they do them in Appleton, Wisconsin. And I'm interested in going back and checking out some more. Maybe I'll save up a little more money. They had some fantastic books. One thing I did notice, though, the Dazzler books have all gone up in money. The Dazzler books are starting to become wall books even. Even Dazzler 1s are becoming wall books. Wow. That rumor is paying off for the comic sellers. Now the question is the rumor true? If you don't know what I'm talking about, the rumor is Taylor Swift's going to make a cameo as Dazzler in the Deadpool movie, in the next Deadpool movie. She says it's not true. We'll see. I digress. I'm off topic. You've come to the end of Comic Book Editions Volume 164. I'll just remind you that my back issue of the week YouTube short, it's a Marvel one. I've been doing so many DCs lately. I didn't want you Marvel fans to think I'd forgotten about you. And I like my groups, my Marvel groups. So it's a Marvel team book that I posted. You can watch that now. It's up and available. This upcoming Sunday on my channel, 8:15 Eastern, 7:15 Central, is Fanboys Live in the Retro Review with Tony Fett, Signature King Tony Fett, and Comic Food 2814. And Tim the Comic Collector will be there in spirit. Hope to see you on one of those events or one of those videos, and next week for Comic Book Editions Volume 165. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll catch you soon. Take care.